Okay, hi guys, going to look at modified sit-down squat today, which is a great exercise that I stole from Dr. Andrew Locke. Superb exercise, really helps me with my own back issues, but great for anyone who's got had lower back issues that's stopping them from training. This is a good tool to start re-cueing how they squat, so they start to squat in a lot more of a back sparing and back safe way, but also learn to use their brace and use their glutes and their hips a lot more effectively. I say superb exercise to kind of bridge from rehab into this, then from this we can get back into sort of regular squatting pretty safely. So with the setup, I've got like a small weight, sort of 2 or 3 kilos will do. Just a bench, or average height bench or box if you can find one. Set up initially, we're going to have the feet nice and wide, so I'm going to be well wider than shoulder width apart, with toes turned out slightly. We're going to come up to the edge of the bench, and we're just going to use the bench as a bit of a guide so that we get the right depth. But the weight with the arms comes out in front. We always want that to be parallel to the floor, so I'm going to drop it. We've got it too high, so we've got to try and stay parallel to the floor. To cue up, we squeeze with the glutes first of all, so the glutes are locked in. Air in. We're going to make our brace here. And then from there, I'm pushing my hips back and my knees out, and then squeezing in. But you need to do it with holding your breath all the way. So if I do it properly, it's going to be a when you breathe out at the top. So we're going to feel working on that is most of it's using the brace, taking that air in, locking your brace as hard as you can so you can really feel sort of the brace, lower abdominals, your obliques working together. Legs being nice and wide as you go down. It's going to help stretch out your adductors inside of your thighs and also your glutes as well. We come down and we touch, and then we come back up. Try and squeeze back for the glutes at start position at the top. We always lock those in, but then we can breathe out, re-engage that brace with the breath, and off we go again. That's a great exercise for queuing up your squat. Just be careful with the depth initially. If you've got really tight hips, you're probably going to struggle getting down without sort of either just collapsing or kind of trying to curl your bum underneath. If that's the case, you're far better off to get maybe like a little weight plate or a little sort of just something to raise it up a little bit so you can go down under control, and over time progress yourself on the way down. Because what we don't want to do is teach yourself in the squat to collapse at the bottom because you're too tight, or instead of stretching the hips out, kind of start to round the lower back. Obviously when you squat, you're going to have a flexed lumbar spine with the weight on your back, especially if you've got a pre-existing back injury, because that's going to make your discs worse. I say great exercise, follow your technique, take your time with it. So just again, we lock in, brace, hips back, driving the knees out hard, up, and squeeze back through. And the goal with it as well is we want to try and keep our shins as vertically as we can when we come down, so we don't want our knees to travel too far forward. We want to keep them vertical. And the way to do that is to push your knees out and drive your hips behind you. And because this weight's out in front of you, it's going to put you off balance, which is going to really make you engage your core. So if you can tell, quite a tough exercise. Reps and sets wise, if you're really in the sort of early stage of rehab, probably 4 sets of sort of 8 to 10 reps are going to be good for you. And obviously you have to build up towards that, so it might be 1s or 2s initially. But you can actually use it as a sort of a like a prep phase for your training. You might want to do 4 sets of sort of 8 to 12. But again, keep the weight pretty light, like a 2 or 3 kilos is fine. But really keep his arms outstretched. That's a great exercise. Stretch out the hips, work the core, get the glutes going, get everything queued up. Basically what we're doing is we're going to build more mobility than you actually need for your squats. If you can do this, obviously with a squat you wouldn't shoot your hips back as much. We know that when we get you underneath the bar, you're going to find it a lot easier to build a nice, safe, strong squat pattern if you can already do this one. So what we can do if you sort of struggle with depth, and also I touched on it just before, but if you need to raise it up a little bit so you've got something to work towards, just a couple of small little weights, so these little 1.5 kilo ones here, just gives you something a little bit higher to aim towards if you are a bit tight. Exactly the same technique. Touch. And then up nice and smooth, and then you just progress as you get more flexible, work your way down to the bench. But again, make sure your bum doesn't sort of round underneath you and you don't sort of just collapse at the bottom. You've got to be complete control and just sort of touch and go, nice and smooth.